Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to review Helium. For those who are unfamiliar with how my channel works, I do research, feed it into a model, the model has output, we weigh the model's output to reality, and then I reflect and modify the model to better correlate to higher ROI in the cryptocurrency space. It is a self-iterative process based on reality, and the goal is to get the highest ROIs possible. This is the model, the project is Helium, and I'm just going to dive right into it. So one thing I wanted to do is show you this. This is Helium. What it is it's a project that aims to cover an infrastructure of Internet of Things. You can see this map shows you the coverage. It's quite interesting. We can come over here and click this, and it shows you the earnings. So you could see who's earning money and who's not, or what areas Internet of Things components of the map are profitable. But this is their technology here, showing you an explorer. There's 900,000 nodes. But what this project does is it aims to have individuals run a wireless internet, a wireless infrastructure for data packages. And it's similar to like your Wi-Fi network, but these are long-range devices that can be sold and service this network. And you can see that some of these can be profitable, like this is on their Explorer. And the nodes within this little hexagon are earning 5.38 HNT over a month. So, but it says that's a year ago. So I'm not sure how up to date this data is. But it gives you an idea of whether or not you'd be profitable if you were to run this. But it will, if there's profitable areas, like people, what they believe is that people will begin to operate the devices and run this thing from the ground up. So what does it do? Let's just go into a summary of what it does. It's a decentralized open wireless network. It's got these things called Helium hotspots, and that's what that map was that I showed you. It's got a proof of coverage mechanism, which uses the token in order to automate individual actions and validate that people are running the infrastructure. It is that Internet of Things infrastructure. It's got over 900,000 hotspots. And it's managed through the front end, which is called the Helium console. And it's long-range devices. So basically, that's just a summary of what it does. Okay, so now what we're interested in is whether or not it's a good investable product. Nothing here is financial advice, but this is what my model outputs, whether it's a good ROI expected. So let's get into it. Future increase in demand for the token. Model expects there to be some increase in demand for the token. Future price FOMO. Model expects that to be the case. Regarding the social media, you're not early with social media. It's something. It's not like some hidden gem project that no one's aware of. Like there's a decent crowd of people that are aware of this. Also, the roadmap is just expansion. There's nothing that could create FOMO from that roadmap. It's just them building out services and adding upgrades, etc. So that's the roadmap. Regarding the token model, the token is security of the network, which is that proof of service, etc. that we showed you earlier. The proof of coverage, that's the mechanism that, and the token is a critical component of that. It rewards Helium hotspots. It's the incentive mechanism for onboarding the infrastructure. And it also burns the HNT token for data credits, which are the fees that on the network. So it's a token burn mechanism. So that's like a dividend. So we like that. I like token burn models. So that means it's a dividend irrelevancy, and the token distribution is not relevant because it will float to a PDE. It doesn't matter if like 80% of the tokens are controlled by a few people, because it's like a dividend. It pays dividends. And those people will get the same dividend in the ratio of the tokens they hold, just like a company or something like that. So that token burn ensures things like that. Obviously, the tokens get distributed over time in these proof of stake systems, or these systems that are run by the tokens. And this is governed by the token. That is another element of the token. It is a governance token, which gives you a vote based on the balance. So the token is critical to the all aspects of this architecture. So the token is like ownership of the architecture, and once again, governance controls the inflation and things like that. So it's not too important. There is a 5% APR to validators. but it could be deflationary if it gets a lot of adoption. All right, so like, what kind of ROI are we looking at for the ICO performance? Well, it was difficult for me to find the pricing for the different ICOs. So what I did is I just looked at how much they raised in total, and they raised 380 million with their current market cap of 1.2 billion. It's not sitting; it's like 3x up. So, and that's if if these people were to completely liquidate it at that price. So it's not too dangerous of ICO dumpage because they raised 300 million and it's worth 1.2. There's a lot of projects like Solana that are sitting at like 200x, and those are dangerous for dumpage from the insiders. So regarding price action, it's matched the market. It's performed exactly average over the past year. So it's not experiencing any FOMO, so that you know that you're not going to get dumped from people who are emotionally buying. Regarding the market cap, it is not a small market cap, 1.2 billion. Fully diluted is 2.1. Price currently at this timing of the video is 9.5. So it is a decent sized project. Regarding the adoption and the market fit, it is experiencing exponential growth. It's got 2 million a month earnings. So that's 480 million cap, justified at a P/E of 20. So its current P/E is 48. So if we expect it to double, then we can expect maybe it'll get price action closer to a 20 P/E, and then if it gets growth beyond that. So that gives you an idea of how much value is moving across the network, etc. It's got 3% hotspot growth over the last month. That's pretty decent size in coverage. So the coverage is growing. Liquidity depth is 1 million to move it 2%. So that's pretty good, and it is obviously servicing that network right now. So it's servicing a niche. I'm not going to go too much into the governance components of this, but basically you vote using token weight, and your tokens are locked up for 5 months to be a node. So that means that you will have a long time horizon if you're a node operator, because your tokens are locked for 5 months. So that's a pretty decent time commitment in order to run the infrastructure to be part of it. And all the other governance aspects look pretty decent. And I'd say this thing is about medium decentralized right now. And the token, over time, the tokens will get more distributed, and it'll move more into that high distributedness. But as of right now, the token models, that's basically the basics of the governance of how this thing works. Regarding the team, they do have it. I put the team as high ranking because they have experience in the relevant fields, specifically Sean Fanning, which is an advisor now, but he helped fund this. He was part of the Napster Foundation, which he helped found that as well. And Napster changed the world, music industry, and how data packets have been sent and received, and he had over 27 million users. And it's done many things. But remember, Sean is part of many startups, so how much of his time and energy will be put in this, who knows? And then there's Amir Helium, and he's the CEO, famous gamer, wireless forms of Napster, Internet of Things, sensor data, mesh. So these are what his ideas were. That he was thinking of making this project as a wireless form of Napster, wireless network that's similar in its operations. And it's Internet of Things mesh network. And then obviously there's Sean, who's the systems architect. So, the team is very skilled, and I put them at high ranking because of their backgrounds, specifically the Sean Fanning. But once again, who knows how much time he's giving to this exclusively, because he does have a lot of companies that he's founded. Okay, so now regarding the value of the target market, I'm not sure about this. This was kind of difficult for me to think about, but we're talking about Internet of Things, mesh network, public run infrastructure. So I think centralized entities will have an advantage on running data networks. It's basically, what are we talking about here? What is this market? It's data transmission. And so, there's things like the Elon Musk satellite network that he's launching. What is it called? Can't remember it right now, but it's the satellite link. Starlink that he's launching, and that's going to compete with this. There's also Amazon, and there's also some angles of this that I want you to think about. Like, if we are talking about an Internet of Things world, I do believe that is going to grow massively. I do think the infrastructure for that's going to grow massively, but I also think that companies, centralized companies, or companies selling these products and services, can run this software on their own, and they could even run it at a cheaper cost basis, because they would want the data to run through their system so that they can get first service to the data. Like, for instance, Amazon is already doing this, and that could cause profitability of Helium to suffer, such as Amazon running automatically. Like, you have to opt out of Amazon's mesh network, and very few people know this, but Alexas and other Amazon devices automatically turn on to a mesh network, and they collect the Internet of Things data, and they'll do that. They'll run that for free because or much cheaper than something like this, because they want that data to run through Amazon versus individuals. So you have to think about the competition here. So, and it's difficult for me to put a price on this. Also, there's hardware. Hardware is going to get super cheap. Hardware is not very profitable because it always drops in costs, and this is kind of a hardware infrastructure. But there's other elements to it as well. So like I said, it's difficult for me to really think about the market size on this one. So I put it as neutral, just for this model. All right, and then large business models that demand a token to reflect their needs. I put that as neutral as well, because I think it's more like smaller entities that will want to run nodes, and run those validators, and basically what it is you get the ROI of running this infrastructure, but you can also participate in governance. I don't think business models will be interested in that, but maybe there will be a couple. Obviously, there's always exceptions. All right, strategic partnerships. They have good partnerships. Samsung, Qualcomm. And Dish was using them for, so they got these decent partnerships. All right, and then, okay, so I said the governance was strong, which leads to high-value upgrades, which lead to value of services increasing, user experience being good. Regarding developers, I don't see a huge developer market for this, because their blockchain is the blockchain infrastructure for this project isn't meant for like DeFi. It isn't meant for big software as a service type things. It's basically, the blockchain is the mechanism for incentivizing the node, like the human beings running this decentralized data Internet of Things mesh network. So the blockchain itself just orchestrates things, but it's not meant to run a lot of software as a service type things. So that's not like a developer environment, for example. But there is opportunities there, obviously. But not the biggest compared to things like Ethereum, etc. So, but I do expect network effect. All these things are kind of irrelevant. Like, I don't think they will have a good moat. And flywheel mechanism. Okay, so what are these things? Let me just explain them real quick. So moat is how you protect your business model. I think that's difficult. Like I said, like, there's centralized entities that will compete with them, and it's easy for Internet of Things devices to communicate with one network and another network. It's just over-the-air software updates on which network they communicate with, so they can communicate with this one using data packages that recognize this network versus other networks just as easily. So I don't think there's a big moat protective network for that. And flywheel, but that flywheel is like how a feedback loop can be established, and I do think there is some mechanism of that. But basically, the more people that use the network, the flywheel should grow. So maybe this is green, but down the line things I did establish as I think that are strong anyways. First mover adequate. First mover, they are the first mover in this kind of blockchain self-run incentive architecture mesh network. So I gave them that. And tokens per person to go down, I expect that to be the case. Tokens on sell side to decrease, and money needed to move price up to decrease. So these are all the bullish things, and I expect them all to be green, as you can see. And obviously they lead to this element right here, down here, which is the price performance expected. So that's the model. Final summary. Low market cap with accomplished CEO. I put no. I put no for early social media, but it does have a live niche. Pros and cons summary. Founders are very experienced in the relevant fields. It is a deflationary model. Well-funded and not high ROI yet for the founders, so that could potentially lead to price action. And this is kind of a passion project, because this is a mission-type critical project. You could tell from the founders, especially founders such that come from Napster and this freedom-type movement. So those kind of things do tend to be successful. Because if people are passionate about the mission, if that happens to be the case, people will work nights and weekends, and that's what leads to success. So passion projects are often successful. The cons, near impossible adoption unless through contracts of guarantee. So like guaranteeing the traffic, those guaranteeing widespread data package recognition of this network, etc. You want, like, if they do a contract with a big Internet of Things device company, that's the kind of thing you would look for. I'm thinking anyways, that they would make a huge partnership, like who knows, like let's say the Aura Ring, for instance, and the Aura Ring communicates, like sets all their devices to have Helium recognition software so they can communicate with the network, etc., getting a bunch of traffic. So it's those kind of partnerships that you'd be looking for, and that might be difficult to do. Now, the cost per network point is about $500 for these nodes that run this. So that means that someone has to be willing to pay $500. My ring isn't the data on my ring, or the data on my dog's tracker, or the devices that these things are orchestrating. I don't know if it's worth $500, or how long these little tiny data packages will be worth $500 for one of these nodes. It has to cover a pretty wide spread. So I do imagine it will be profitable in cities where there's lots of data, lots of Internet of Things. And I do imagine that this is going to grow a lot over time. But right now, I think it's a little bit timing-wise, maybe a little bit too early for the Internet of Things economy. I do believe that that's going to be a massive thing, but it might be a little bit early market fit. So that's what I mean by that. Growth is bound by physical constraints of this Internet of Things. So I do believe Internet of Things is going to grow exponential, but they might be a little bit too early for it. That's kind of that summary of that again. And I just think that there's a lot of other opportunities out there that will be growing faster, but who knows? I could be wrong about that. And then there's also the Starlink and Amazon competition type things. For instance, Amazon saying that you have to opt out and no one's really aware of it. So people will be buying these Internet of Things and they'll automatically be running for those host companies as competition, reducing the ROI expected from running this infrastructure. So there's those kind of things to be concerned about as well. Okay, so that's the summary. I try to do these as unbiased as possible. That's the point of the model. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. The next part I'm going to do is my Patreon exclusive thoughts and actions. All right, later.